is the all-new Hyundai Palisade, redesigned inside and outside. Today, we're diving into everything you need to know about this new generation Hyundai Palisade. But before that, special thanks for this video goes to our great friends at Don Valley North Hyundai. They're a Hyundai dealership, also Genesis dealership in the same lot. And they were kind enough to allow me to borrow this thing for the day. Also, I don't get paid by dealerships. This video is not sponsored by the dealership. Otherwise, I would be very, very rich. These are sort of my thoughts, my opinions, and my take on what do I think about the new Palisade or any vehicle that I review from any dealership. So, if you want to check out this thing in person, guess what? Check out the link in the description below. You can reach out directly to them or just walk into the store. I'm sure they're going to have a unit that you can check out and see the beautiful new Hyundai Palisade. Before the Hyundai Palisade came out, Hyundai's idea of a three-row SUV was the Santa Fe. It had a third row, but let's be honest, you couldn't fit anything in there. But then something happened. Back in 2018, Hyundai rolled out the all-new first ever Hyundai Palisade. It was big, it was bold, and ready to give the other competitors a heart attack. Why the name Palisade? It is inspired by the Pacific Palisade in California. The idea is that while you're stuck in traffic with 3 screaming children, you want to feel like you're driving a $10 million beach house. The idea was to have an SUV that offers 3 rows, that offer lots of luxury, premium feel without you having to mortgage your house. And guess what? It was an instant hit. From moms to dads to Uber drivers, this thing became a success. Why not? It looked amazing, it had lots of space, lots of tech features. And then fast forward to 2023, you have the facelift Palisade because they wanted to make sure that they could give it sort of an update to the vehicle. Which brings me to this, the all-new Hyundai Palisade. And there is a lot to unpack in this video. This car has received major updates on the outside, inside, and driving experience. But first, let's start with the exterior, and specifically the front end. What you see in here is a fully redesigned front end. And we're going to unpack one by one because it is a pretty busy area. First up, you have the new grille. There's a light bar in the center, which kind of continues onto the side a little bit so that the entire thing is sort of one piece. Next thing you notice is that at the bottom it has these flaps which open up automatically when the vehicle requires cooling. Next thing you notice is the daylight running lights, and the reason I say the notice because they are very noticeable and they're larger than before. They have a couple of features. You see, for daytime they remain one color, but nighttime they switch. And when you use them for indicating, they have a different color. It's also important to mention is that what you see in the front with the daylight running lights is apparently the letter C. So it starts from the right all the way to the left. The entire piece kind of looks like a letter C. Now, when you look at this thing outside, it has such a massive presence. I think they have nailed it. It doesn't shout a lot, but you're not going to miss this thing on the road. And I think that was the goal, bold and bigger. And since we're talking about bigger, the vehicle is larger than the outgoing generation. First, you've got longer wheelbase, longer body overall. We have a wider stance in the back. We also have at the top the tailboat design. So it starts larger at the front and then it gets smaller at the back, but it is wider compared to the outgoing model. The tailboat design is more for airflow because this vehicle has a better drag coefficient than the outgoing generation, which means better fuel efficiency as well. Next thing you need to know is that the side profile of this vehicle has been completely redesigned. Let's unpack one by one. First thing is the wheel arches. It has a 3D effect, and the idea behind it is for better airflow, but also it looks nicer. Next thing is that the wheel arch itself, it is larger now compared to previous generation. And we've got 21-inch wheels. With this Calligraphy package. Next thing, side mirrors. Well, this is quite interesting because they say in the press release is that it's supposed to resemble a flag. And the only way I could picture that is by looking onto this side, because the way it arches down, so like the wave part shows kind of like a flag. On top of that, this is a two-tone finish. You've got the glossy black plus the paint. And another thing you notice is the actual turning signal. So we've got one at the front and one at the side. So in case if someone is passing you, they'll be able to see that you have the indicator on. And since we're talking about the paint, we have new paint choices for 2026. The one that you've seen here is the creamy white pearl. And then we have Ecotronic Gray Pearl, Ultimate Red Metallic, which is new, and the Abyss Black Pearl. Now, I saw the black color the other day, looked very, very black. The problem I have with black colors on cars is that the lines disappear, the details disappear. In a white color, you get to see them even more. That's my opinion. And this one would be probably my choice compared to the other color. In this case, the vehicle is not just larger, wider, longer wheelbase. It also has a larger third window over onto this side. In fact, the D-pillar is different design compared to the outgoing models. You notice this piece starts from here, continues all the way to the rail, and then you have the top piece. So you've got three different paint choices. You got the glossy black, you have the white, in this case the body color, and then we have this chrome design to make it different to the outgoing model. Moving on to the rear end. This is actually my favorite side of this vehicle. The front end is good, but this is even better. That's just my take. First thing you notice is the large taillights, and we've got a two-piece in here. There's a lot to unpack. If you remember, the square design for the headlights at the front continues in here. Even the taillight shape itself is very much what you see in the front, just flipped the other side. First thing, you've got the brake lights and also the daylight running lights. On top of that, we have the turning signal. So we've got 2, 4, 6 square boxes that represent the turning signal. Next thing you notice at the bottom, we've got the reverse lights. Unlike other vehicles, they have designed this in a way that it's not as obstructive and it's got the perfect lines. And if you notice carefully, we've got the bumper at the bottom. The way this thing is designed, it's kind of like a boat at the back. And then we have the big letters in the middle that say Palisade, so that people driving behind you wondering what this is, they will know it's a Palisade. And then at the top, we've got the rear camera. Now this camera over onto this side is for your rear view mirror, because the backup camera is located in here. And in case the rear camera is filthy, you can actually clean it from inside. It's got a water spray onto this area so that it stays clean, so you don't have to come out and wipe it yourself. Another important factor about this is the actual spoiler at the top. If you look carefully, it does have a light, which is for the brake light in this case. And if you pay attention, the spoiler design kind of matches the bumper at the bottom. A little touch, a little detail, and the way the air flows all the way through for better aerodynamics. On top of that, to make it look even more premium or luxurious, the wiper is located underneath so that it doesn't look awkward on the windshield. Now, before we get into the front row, I want to talk about a new technology for the Palisade. In most vehicles, you'd have a water spray nozzle in here or maybe in the actual wiper like Mercedes does, so that way it does a different cleaning and it doesn't waste water or fluid in that matter. In this case, the fluid, it's heated. And the reason is because it has two nozzles, one on each side, that turn on when the temperature is below 5 degrees. When it's above 10 degrees, the heaters turn off. I don't know who thought about that, but that to me is pretty cool, because the idea behind it is that it sprays heated washer fluid onto the windshield, so that way it keeps it even more clean compared to other vehicles. There's also more cargo space because the vehicle is now larger, wider, longer, taller. In fact, with a third row seat up, you on the 2025 model, you'd get about 18 cubic feet of space. In the new one, you get 19.1. Same thing with the third row down, you get more space now, and with the second row down, which, by the way, talking about the third row and the second row, now it comes with extra features. First thing is that on the right side over here, we've got buttons to fold the second row, to fold the third row, or fold all at once, so you can press one button. On top of that, they've added a second button where you can change if you want to fold the second or the third row. And in the third row, you've got powered seats, so you can adjust the seat with the buttons located in here back and forth. And you have heated seats for the third row. And of course, the USB charging ports, which are 100 watts, one on each side. Plus, you've got these cup holders for the third row passengers. To make the vehicle quieter on the inside, this window and this window now have an acoustic design. That way, you don't hear much of the road noise. We'll talk about that when we go for a drive. Moving on to the second row. First up, we're going to talk about is the door. And you're probably wondering, why is it talking about the door? Well, because even in here, we have a lot to unpack. First of all, you've got this beautiful leather, and you've got the stitching, Napa leather interior, which is very important. And then we have the finish in here, and you've got the door handle to open from inside round, which, by the way, matches the air vents, matches the speaker that you see in there, the tweeter. And speaking about the tweeter, if you look carefully, there's an icon, and that is sort of your notification when you open the door telling you that there's a bicycle or a person approaching you, so please don't open the door, which again is very important. And since we talked about the acoustic windshields, this also has the rubber around here, the padding, to make the vehicle even more quiet. On top of that, you've got a cup holder in there. There's another cup holder on this side. You got some extra space in here, maybe if you want to slide your phone in there. And there's an actual sunshade with this package. Moving on to the second row seat, we have a few buttons. You can adjust the seat automatically, as you can see right here, move it forward, and you have an easy access button so that you get access to the third row. The seats move automatically forwards, and that way it gives you the most space to get into the third row. Another feature is that it has sort of like a lounge style seat, so you can press this button onto this side, and what it does, it positions the seats in the most comfortable position. That way, for long trips, this comes in real handy, so you're nicely reclined and enjoy a beautiful ride. Now, to get into the third row, you can press the button at the top or the button over here, so that way it moves forward to give you access to the third row. Of course, it is powered, you don't have to work too hard for it, and then it will give you the most space, as you can see, moving all the way to the front. The way this thing like reclines and moves, it feels like it's doing some yoga poses. And then you jump into the third row, which is important to mention the fact that now you get more space in here because the vehicle is larger, therefore you have easier access to the third row, and then here you go. That is me into the third row. How do I feel? I feel comfortable. I've got the seat in position here, so I can move this automatically. I can do for the recliner back and forth, that is powered, which is nice and handy. And if I want to put the seat back in the position it was, you just press the button, automatically moves back. Imagine this is a 3-row SUV and you get all these crazy features, and it actually moved in a position where there's so much space for me as a passenger. Now in the back in here we get 3 seats, so this is 2, 2, 3, 7-seater, but you can also get with 8 seats with a different package, but this one is the Calligraphy. Next thing I notice is the window is much larger than before. You get more visibility and also more lights. There's also On top of that, you have the actual panoramic roof in the center that gives you even more light. And if it's too cold outside, which is not today, you have heated seats in the back with 3 levels for both left side and right side. Sorry for the middle passenger, you don't get that option, but I highly doubt anybody is going to sit in the middle here unless a child or something. There's also, and talking about children, you've got the ISOFlex in here, so you can put a child seat in here and onto the right side. Onto the right side, there is the 2 cup holders. We have a speaker in here so that you get the best audio. You've got the air vents at the top. And to get out, I press the button again and it automatically moves forward. So that way you get yourself the most space to get out. I'm gonna say, I'm super impressed what they've done with this thing, and pretty comfortable in the back for the size of this. It's not a large full-size SUV. It's just your standard 3-row SUV. And then here we go. I'm out. That wasn't too hard. You press the button again, and here we go. There is more to unpack in the second row. There's a lot to go through. First of all, you have the captain chair with the 2 seats in the middle, and with the 2 seats, and you've got the space in the center. There's a compartment here that you can store stuff. There's a 150 volt port in here to connect your laptop or anything that supports that charge. There's a USB-C port in here and a USB-C port in there. And I believe, I may be wrong about this, but I don't remember this feature in the outgoing model. But this has these buttons here to move the seats in the front, so that way you give yourself more space if you're sitting in here. Like for long trips, it's kind of like your lounge area, and you can use these buttons to move the seat back and forth, to use the recliner. It's just perfect. There is some space here that you can store stuff, your laptop, your tablet, and so on. And in terms of tech features, the climate unit is located at the top. Now, one good thing about this climate unit being in there is the fact that you don't get the kids to play around with it because it's so high, they're not going to be able to reach there, especially if they have the car seat in here. And this is a perfect example. You can also look at them while they're trying to use it so that they play around. You can block them right away. You can also lock it from the front, but this is up high here for a reason. There is 2 air vents on the sides. We've got the lights here with the power button and of course the sunshade. On top of that, I can use the recline. Oh, look at that. Oh, that feels good. Here we go. I can literally be in a perfect... Oh man, I've been working hard this week. This is so good. Look at this. If there's no one in the back, I can just chill like that and look at the sky. We've got the panoramic roof. What a machine. Look at this beauty. Jumping on to the interior, front row. There's a lot to unpack in here too. We've got a completely redesigned interior with the inspiration from furniture. And in fact, you feel like you're in a lounge in here. Kind of like that. It has quite a lot. And the first thing that you notice when you jump in, besides this beautiful dashboard, the way it is designed, is the panoramic curved display. So we've got a 12.3-inch display on the side and a 12.3 for the infotainment for the cluster. And we have the new design steering wheel with the 3 spokes in this case, very similar to what you'd see probably in the Santa Fe, just a nicer interior, the beautiful Napa leather interior, of course. And with the calligraphy package, you get the engraved calligraphy letters on the headrest, a nice touch for that luxury premium feel. It is equipped with Bose audio systems. You get about 14 speakers, including the 2 tweeters on each side. Okay, let's do the intro video where you get into the vehicle and we can start it up. There's the button located onto the steering column, including the shifter that you can put to drive. The button is right here. You can actually see it because as you're looking down, it's flashing, it's telling you right here. And that's a good way to put the light in there so that people know that's where it is when it's their first time. You press that. And here we go. First thing you notice is the different design of this thing, including the infotainment display, which now it has a new user interface and a lot of features to pack. a lot of features to go through. First, it's got a dash camera. Now, this is a built-in dash camera with 2 cameras, which are located at the top over here, and they record quite a lot. So you've got wild parks, motion detection while parked, driving events, parked events, and so on. And you can see the saved one, time lapse. You can also have a live view of it. There's 2 cameras, and you can have the media on and off. We have a 360 camera with this thing, so you can see, and it matches the color of the vehicle. It actually looks super sharp compared to the outgoing model. You can actually see the shine over here, and it's well done. It doesn't look very fish eye like. And here you go. Now, when you go back to the main menu, if you do this like a tablet, you have some features, quick control, essentially quick access. So you have navigation guidance, so you can change that. You also have passenger talk, as you can hear it go into that mode. And what it does is it takes the audio from the front and it goes all the way to the rear speaker, so that way you don't have to raise your voice. And then there is quiet mode, which turns off all the speakers in case if you have a child in the back. And then you have your brightness. There is display off, you can turn it on. You go back into the settings, and then there is this feature, passenger talk. There is extra features that you can add on in here, like you can add your dash camera, navigation, the beep, quiet mode, the tone, charge device, and so on. We're gonna turn this off because I don't need it right now. And then you're back into the main menu. In here you have your profiles for each driver, passenger. You have the seats, the seat control in this case, and you have your heated seats in the second row and the front row. You can also move the seats back and forth automatically from here. You have the seat back recline, so you can adjust for the second row. And then you have the relax mode where the seats fold, so that way it gives you the most comfortable ride. And then there is the walk-in mode. In case if you have passengers, they want to get into the second row, you can control it from here. And then you move on to the third menu where you can fold the seats automatically from here one by one. So you've got the second row and the third row. Easy access, that is new for this model. Then we move on to the weather gadget. In here you've got your vehicle diagnostic, service maintenance, your radio, and your online menu. So those are some of the settings that this offers with this package. It's got a really nice layout. There's also trailer mode. In case if you wanted to tow, you can add a trailer in here so that the vehicle knows based on the total trailer. I think this is rated about 5,000 pounds or so, and you can add your trailer. You can have different trailers attached to it. You've got a checklist, so you go one by one. It tells you what you need to do in case if this is your first time using a trailer. You can connect it. It's got the 8 steps, and you're good to go. And then you have your settings in here for trailer connection notification. You have the tow mode, so you tell the vehicle what mode it is, what if you're towing, and if it's lightweight, medium weight, or heavy weight, so that the vehicle can adjust the suspension system, the drivetrain, and the engine based on that, which I think is nice and handy. And that is of course new for this year. There's a built-in GPS in this case, like navigation system. You can do through audio controls, and it's giving you a beautiful view. You go back into it. Now, most people are gonna connect their phone, which you can connect your wireless CarPlay, your Android Auto. And then we have the setup, which now looks more like a tablet style. You can adjust the display in this case. You have the camera settings, and then you go back into the main menu. And then you have the sound system, which this is powered by Bose. You've got your sound true mode, your position where you want to change it, the tones. This is for your guidance, let's say for your navigation alerts if you don't want to change it. The radio noise. Now this is minimum noise reduction. Essentially what it does is it reduces the original FM sound with some reduction for background noise, so you can hear the sound even more. You've got your driver assistant, in this case your haptic, your connected device, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And then the premium sound. Now this is Bose, where you have startup maximum volume limit, so it doesn't turn on to loud mode. You have your dynamic speed compensation, so basically on the speed it adjusts the music to ensure consistent listening. And then you have your sound true, which is sort of like a soundstage dynamic experience. And we go back into the main menu. You have your cluster and a heads-up display. You can change the theme. In this case, you can do classic for the cluster. You can do simple. There's like the graphic style in here. And then you have your heads-up display where you can adjust the position. And then moving on to the back, you've got your content selection, what you wanted to see in there, turn by turn, driving assistant, blind spot. And then you go back into the other menu. Next thing is your blue link where you can connect your phone, and it will unlock and lock the vehicle through your phone, which is nice and handy to have. The sound is where I want to focus a little bit. Moving further down, we have buttons, which I appreciate. They haven't left the buttons, they haven't taken them away. A lot of companies now are just doing all in the screen. Hyundai has gone the other way, which I appreciate. You have your driving modes in here. You can do your terrain. Your drive mode is like a button. And then you have the lever over here that you can pull up and down and push, so you can change the driving modes. We're going to keep it in normal. This is for your audio. You have some button for easy access to like the home, map, search, media, and so on. And then underneath that, we have the climate unit, which has sort of like a haptic button. You've got your heated seats in this case. You've got ventilated seats for front passengers. You can also control the rear climate unit from here. In case if you have kids in the back, you can turn it off and turn it on. I don't know if there's a lock button, which I don't think it is, where you can turn it off from here. And then you have your knobs for your temperature. You can change that. And you can do auto for, in this case, with 3 levels for the front side. Now, I appreciate the fact that there are buttons in there because a lot of companies are getting rid of buttons. Next thing you notice is that on the side over here, you have your button for your camera for easy access. And there's also downhill assist if you ever decide to take this off-road, although the new Palisade does have an XD and XRT version Pro for off-roading. We'll review that soon when it comes to the fleet. But this is about it. So you got buttons, we're set on this side. Now, in the middle, we have what's called the island, the center island in this case. And one thing you need to appreciate about it is the way it's designed with access to everything. You've got 3 USB-C ports, 2 for 100 watts each, so that way you have quick charging. And then you have a wireless charging pad in here, which has built-in cooling. So that way, while the phone is charging, in case if it overheats underneath here, the actual wireless charging pad has a cooler underneath, which is something that I noticed with a lot of cars. My phones heat up so fast. Then we've got 2 cup holders. And then you have this, which you have seen before in the Santa Fe, which is the UV light. What you do is you open the armrest, you slide your phone, and there's an actual UV light in here. You've got 3 on each side, and then you can turn that on. So you close the armrest, and now it cleans your phone. So it sanitizes your phone by pressing that button. But when you open the armrest, it turns off automatically. So you just have to keep it on, do its process. It's going to turn off when it's done, and you're good to go. So that way you got yourself a nice clean phone. In this case, I probably should do it because it needs to be done on my phone. Now, moving on to the steering wheel, we've got this beautiful steering wheel with a stitching 2-tone color. We've got the 3-spoke design, similar to the Santa Fe. You've got your buttons on the side here for, I'll just close the door properly. And you've got your buttons here for the voice control for the radio. You can lower the volume from there. And then on the left side, you got your cruise control, lane assist, and also for the information onto the cluster. So you can change everything wherever you need to. And then you have your gap assist that you can control, easy access. Behind that, we've got pedal shifters. And then in here, that's your sensor so that it looks into you when you're driving, making sure that you're not falling asleep in this case. Cluster offers a lot of information. You can change from like navigation in this case, your driver assistant package. There's different settings for that as well. One of my favorite things, it's this feature that every vehicle I think should have. It's based off the cameras. And for this model, we have, I believe for the first time, foldable mirrors. So you press that button and then you can see the mirror onto the side. You press the button on the side here and it folds automatically. And I believe this is for the first time in a Palisade. Then on the side over here, you have for the driver, the memory seats. and this is for sort of like your massage button, so you can control it from here. It's easy access. On the side over here, we've got your tow button, the button to open your tailgate, your traction, and of course the brightness for the cluster. And when it comes to extra space, underneath the islands, we've got this compartment, and there is also another spot where I have my sunglasses, so you'll give yourself a lot of space and a lot of storage. Next thing I'm going to do is take it for a drive. Now, this is my first time ever driving this. So the video right now starts straight from the dealership where I picked it up and then went to different places to shoot different shots like B-rolls and so on. So this is essentially my first time ever starting this and driving it. So let's talk about it. Okay, here we go. This is my first time driving this. And first time jumping inside. It is really nice interior, I gotta admit. This is actually really cool. I've got a spot right in here. Tons of space with this beauty. I really like the interior. Okay, first of all, this is all new. I love this. My first time ever driving this. The button to start is right here. It's actually right in front of you, so it's easy to figure out. And we are back. The good people over here topped it up nicely. They cleaned it onto the road. First put into drive. Very much like the Santa Fe that I had this week. And here we go. I am super excited. One thing that I noticed with this is like opening the door felt like much nicer when you close it. And there have changed quite a lot in the vehicle. The suspension system, the driving comfort, the cabin noise. And as I hear the vehicles passing by, I can hear less noise, which is super impressive. It's actually super quiet in here. On top of that, yeah, we've got a rear view mirror camera, which I absolutely love. We are inside the Palisade for the first time, the new generation. I've always been a big fan of these compared to the Kia Telluride. But as a driver, when you jump in, first of all, not everything is on your face. Like everything is laid out perfectly. We've got this 12.3 inch, 12.4, I think, both cluster and infotainment. As a driver, you got everything where you want it to be. I also noticed there's a lot more space, but what I'm noticing the most is how quiet it is inside. Wow. I have a car on my right, I have cars on my left, in front of me too. Usually I would be able to hear everything, their engine noise, especially the big truck. The soft ride is very noticeable too. Okay, I'm actually quite impressed with this. The buttons I've got right here, so we can set the climate unit. Here we go. Into auto, I've got cooling seats, a little bit hot today. We've got the ventilated seats for the front. If I want to put in sport mode, the buttons are here. I love this layout. It's very unique. The dashboard feels nice. Amazing visibility overall. And with this over here, it's such a huge help driving it. Again, first time driving this thing. I just jumped in. I've never driven this before, the new generation. And I already notice the high quality here. Like, that's just the first thing that I noticed. I love the little camera on the cluster that shows me the right side and the left side. I'm gonna let this guy pass. And we're gonna get in. Thank you, good people. I love that. I rarely use the mirrors, but what a beauty. I also don't have good visibility on that side because there's this camera in front of me. So I have this, which is a huge help for driving. I'm a big fan of that system. I think when they introduced that first, I was super impressed. Okay, onto the highway. Let's move the drivetrain into sport mode. buttons are right there. They didn't take me that long to figure out. You put your foot down, goes up to speed pretty quickly, I gotta admit that. But nobody cares about that. I want to enjoy the drive. Let's do normal mode. And then let's turn on the driver system package because it's got some cool things. Here we go. That's on. Speed limits. Here we go. Onto the highway. Sort of like self-driving. Not really. You still have to keep your hands on the wheel. And we've got this little camera in front that is detecting my face, keeping an eye on my face all the time. The ride feels very plushy, very soft. And I also noticed I've got so much more space here. It feels like bigger overall, which it is compared to the outgoing model because the vehicle is larger now. And you notice that right here, there's everything I need is where it should be. Like all the screens, there's still buttons, which I appreciate that. Let's try lane changing. And there you go. Oh, I think a guy just tried to cut me off. Okay. Oh, there's a bag on there. Here we go. There's a car on my left, so it will not go because of that. It is so quiet in this car. I don't hear the wind noise. It's just me inside the car. And I don't even have to raise my voice from the microphone. It's such a nice, enjoyable ride. The dashboard, the flat design. It's actually nice being inside the vehicle, which I think is probably the biggest thing about a new generation is when you are introduced to a new vehicle, the first thing you want to feel is the interior, the layout, the dashboard, the massive screens in front, that curved display behind the steering wheel. It actually feels like a bit of a lounge here as a driver. It's got a really nice feel to it. I love this part over here. I've got easy access to the climate unit. Even the engine, which is the same V6 as the outgoing model, you don't hear it as much. So we're talking about the engine options. Well, good news. We've got two engine options for 2026, but the first one available will be the standard 3.5 liter SmartStream V6. This one making 287 brake horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. It is equipped with an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is available with a front-wheel drive in the US, I believe, but not in Canada. And it can tow up to 5,000 pounds. And then we have the second engine option, which I believe is going to be available later in the year. It's a 2.5 liter turbocharged inline-4 hybrid, newly redesigned engine, and this one makes about 329 brake horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque. It is standard with an all-wheel drive system, 6-speed automatic transmission. It's supposed to get amazing fuel efficiency compared to the V6 that currently we're driving, and it's going to have a towing capability of 4,000 pounds. So what we have, more horsepower, better fuel efficiency, hybrid system. What it does is that it checks for vehicles to make sure that you're not going to crash into another vehicle on the side. So it will essentially detect anything, and if it's not safe to move, it's not going to move. So it takes some time, which is normal, as you should as a driver. Before you switch lanes, you take a look. If it's safe, then you move, not just swerving left and right like most people are doing around here in Toronto, for example. Time to wrap this up, and we're going to finish it with pricing. First, US trims. We have the base model. This is only for the V6, starting at $40,000. That's the SC, and it goes all the way to the Calligraphy option, which cost about $55,000 US. So you're looking $40,000 to $15,000 more for the highest trim. We also have an XRT Pro, which is new for off-roading, starting about $51,000 US. Now, what about Canada? And again, we're only here for the non-hybrid engine. So we've got the standard one preferred with 8 passenger seats that starts in Canada about $53,700, about $54,000. And then we have the XRT Pro 7 passenger that starts at about $58,000. And then we have the 3.5 Ultimate Calligraphy 7 passenger, which is the one that we have in this video, that starts about $62,500. That is, of course, for Canada. Now, the pricing for the hybrid, we'll talk about that when it's available for driving. So let's wrap it up. What do I think about the new Palisade? I think they nailed the design. They gave people so much for the money, and I think other manufacturers should be concerned about this new Palisade because it offers so much space, ride, great engine options, and what's even more important, is still very well priced in my opinion compared to other manufacturers. I just think they did an amazing job.